completely in secret. We didn't know. We track every movie that's being made, and we were completely surprised when you turned up and you called about it. Can you tell us a little bit about how you made it that way and why you wanted to make this movie?
Well, I self-funded the movie. I paid for myself, so I didn't have to really tell anybody. There was nobody I had to tell, and I just had to get actors and a crew. And I think that the people fight for attention now for their projects, so they kind of scream, "We're doing this." And so if you just go, "We're doing this," nobody hears you. I didn't really try to make it a secret. But anyway, but it was fun to make it that way. And then once we knew that nobody had seen it, and it was finished, and I was bringing it here, Cameron asked me if we could just not tell anybody anything about it. So the first screening, at least, some of you probably read about it, but those folks didn't know anything about it when they saw it. So I always like a fresh audience that doesn't know. That's hard to get now.
I think we described it as an edgy comedy, and that's all we could say. Can you tell me about the edge in the edgy comedy? Because you're really cutting close to some things within the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to tell this story.
It just I guess I like to go up to electric fences and pee on them and shit on them. I find anything that's, I guess a habit that I have in stand-up and in filmmaking or whatever is that if something is uncomfortable in a place that makes people uncomfortable, I want to go, "Hey." And they go, when I'm on stage and I raise a subject, I always see people go, "Please don't talk about this." And I just kind of go, "It's all right, it's just a few ideas about it." And they go, But if you can take people to that place and then make them laugh, and maybe illuminate a few different points of view in a circle, and then they leave a little less afraid of that area, or and also they're a little more confused. I like to, if people feel like they know something about something, I think if you go from knowing to confused, that means you got educated. That's the way I feel.
I want to get some of your questions, but just one last thing about the cast, because you put together a terrific cast for this.
Amazing cast.
Can you tell us a little bit about the What can you tell us about just casting John Malkovich and Chloe Grace Moretz and all the incredible people you have here?
So Chloe, I found through a really basic process of I wanted a girl who was, I wanted somebody who was more like 20, 21, which she is, to play this part. And I just went on IMDb and, actresses born in these dates. It's really the way it happened. And I just started clicking around, making tabs. Because that's not my age group, believe it or not. That's not my folks. So I just moved a bunch of folks over, and as soon as I got to her, I thought, "Oh, I know her from somewhere. I've seen her." And then I went and watched some of her films, and there was nothing in her films that suggested to me that she was like this person, but I just saw something. You just sort of feel something. So I just offered it to her. I just had an instinct, and she said yes. She was really into it. She said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So that's it. Charlie Day, I knew because I love his show, Sunny. And so I wrote that for him, and I wrote Edie's part for her from having done Horace and Pete with her. And so, by the way, if you watch Horace and Pete, you paid for this movie. It's really the way that I paid for it. Because I decided last year I'm going to be willing to risk one chunk of money on my own work. And so I took, Horace and Pete was about $4.5 million, and I said, "This is gone. This money's gone." And that's okay. But then it made a profit. So I said, "Okay, we get to go around again." And so now that's how I made this. And now we sold it to a distributor, so I get to
have more.
One more. As soon as I lose one,
you keep doing this
more self-leadership. So the rest of them just kind of came together. John Malkovich was suggested by my manager. He was suggested by my manager, Dave Becky, and I got my phone number to him, and he called me and said, hello, this is... I said, I wrote a movie and I thought you'd be good in it. And he's like, I'd be very happy to. I'd be delighted. It was the simplest thing. I sent it to him with my email address on the cover, and then I got an email 3 days later saying, I'll be happy to do the part. So I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That was it? And then we found out I had to pay him a lot of money. But anyway, I paid him like his going rate. It's the most expensive one thing in the whole movie.
All right, let's hear from you. We got a lot of people with questions. Go right here first. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for the film. What changed from the previous edit?
What changed from the previous edit?
That's a good question. So, one huge chunk came out. After I tell China you're not going to Paris, and she says it would be good for me, I actually say to her, I'm going to call Leslie, which is a pretty ineffectual parenting move. I'm going to call him. So then there's this scene where I go to the hospital, a hospital to scout it as a location, and I'm with Edie and Charlie, and I'm trying to get him on the phone, and I call him and I say, my daughter thinks you're taking her to Paris, and he says yes, and I tell him I'm worried, and he says, oh, don't worry, because I travel with a physician and security, and she'll be so safe with me that the day she gets back to you, her odds of dying will triple, so don't worry about it. It was a funny scene, but it was fucking long. So, cut it. I don't miss it, so thanks for...
All right, we'll go right here.
Hi, Louis.
Hi.
Have your daughters seen the movies? If not, or this movie, if not, what disclaimers are you giving them? If so, what did they think?
Have your daughters seen the
That's
movie?
that's a sort of flowchart question. Have your daughters seen the movie? No. I don't know if I fuck with the rest of your question. Have I given them any disclaimers? No. My oldest daughter, she's 15, she reads Nabokov. She read Lolita. She reads Dostoevsky. She reads Importance of Being Earnest.
Oscar Wilde.
Yeah, Oscar Wilde. And Dickens. She reads everything. So, I mean, she'll see it someday. She's a very bright kid. The other one, I'll never show to her. I figured her out. The 12-year-old also she'll see. They don't want to see my shit. It's boring to them. I told them, like, hey, I got into this festival, and they're like, I want new fucking Doc Martens. They don't give a shit. I'm boring. No matter what I do, it's boring, and they're fun.
All right, up in the balcony, yes.
Louis, great movie. I'm just wondering, how does this relate to your relationship with your own daughters? Like, is there any similarities?
Those are similarities. Sort of related question, but how does it relate to my relationship with my daughters? You know, it's not related to my relationship to my daughters in a literal sense, because my oldest is 15, and we're not here yet. We're not in this place. But this movie it's not a story from reality. It's a nightmare. This movie is a what if. That's what it is. So and I think it has the broad strokes of a what if. It's not entirely realistic. It's not. It lurches back and forth. So it's a guy being taken. So I think once I have daughters that age that start dating and start having relationships with men and they're older, I'll probably look back and go, that guy didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. This is from the point of view of somebody who's scared of this whole area and doesn't know how to handle it.
All right, we'll go right here. Yes, go ahead.
Oh my God, I really don't talk to you right now. Why make the decision to do the film in like black and white and shoot it on film? How long is it kind of a juxtaposition with the nightmare that you were talking about?
Yeah, the story is really kind of small and weird, and then the movie's a splendor, right? So I started to think about what am I going to shoot this on. I've gotten a little tired of the way digital looks. I love digital. Look, digital film is a beautiful thing. It's a revolution. It's brought the ability to make full-scale films to a lot of people, and so I think it's great. And I love making television on it. But some things are starting to look the same to me. And as I started thinking about this movie, it started to feel arcane to me. I started to feel like the people in it were a little ridiculous. They live in these high rises and they are sort of weird with each other. And there's an actress who's, with a big hat. I mean, a hat's in the script. It says big, wide rim hat. And, hello, nice to meet you. And I thought, they feel old, weird people that are way out of touch. They're not like anybody else today. And so then with the actress, really, I thought she'd be beautiful in black and white. And so that got me to that idea. And then I wanted to shoot on film because I just miss the process of film. I miss having to change the mag every 11 minutes. I miss not knowing what it's going to look like till you see it. It causes the crew and everybody involved to have a lot of respect for the process. And I just think the celluloid just looks better. And yeah, I like it. And it's a short. It's like oil painting or watercolor or whatever. But I used score from movies from the 30s and 40s. I've been watching a lot of pre-code era movies when I made this, so that was part of it, and I started using...
Just one quick thing, does everybody know this? 1934, the Hays Code came in, movies changed after that. If you go to movies before 1934 that are sound movies, they are bizarre.
Yes, if you watch movies from the 30s, early 30s, the Hays Code is what decided that there was people who could tell you shouldn't or should do things in film. Before that, it just wasn't even thought about. People just started making movies, and they weren't innocent. There was amazing novels at that time of really intense things. So they made movies. There's a movie I saw called Babyface, and it's with Barbara Stanwyck. And she plays this woman whose father is forcing her to work. She's supposed to be like 16. She's working as a waitress in his bar, and then he pimps her to fuck customers. And she hates it, She's no kind of life. I'm tired of this, I tell you. And then there's this weird German guy who reads Nietzsche in the bar, and he says, Nietzsche says that you must take charge of your life. He tells her, you have power in your sexuality. Use it for yourself, and all this thing. And she says, I'm gonna do it. And then the bar blows up and the father dies. And she goes to New York City, and she walks into a huge high-rise, and she just goes up to a guy and she says, can I get in to see someone about a job? And the security guard's like, I don't know. And she goes, let's talk about it over here. And she fucks the security guard. And they keep doing this montage with the up the... She fucks another guy up the skyscraper. Fucks another guy up the skyscraper. And it's her saying, fuck everybody, I'm gonna get what I want with sex. And it's blatant, and it's complex. And she's not she's a heroine, but she's flawed, but she's great. There's dudes in the film that exploit her, but they give you details about these guys. There you go, hey, he's kind of okay. Like, it's a mess. You don't know who's right and who's wrong. And pre-code movies were all like this. They were all over the map. But the Hays Code came and said, if you're doing a wrong thing, you're in the black.
Right. And you'll be
dark
punished.
Black hat. White hat, you can't make mistakes. Not only did they say that anyone who makes a mistake is pure evil, they said that anyone who is good cannot make errors anymore. And I think that's been a split that's fucked up the whole country. So I was thinking of that when I shot it in black and white.
Okay, there's a lot of people who want to ask me. I've got time for one or two more. We'll go right here first. Yes.
How long have you wanted to tell this story and make this movie?
About a year and a half ago, Vernon Chapman and he wrote the story with me and then helped me write the screenplay, and he was around on the set a lot. I guess that's when we started cooking it. I wrote other movies and came up with other movie ideas, but they just never came together. This one haunted me. I tried not to make it. A few times I was like, I don't want to fucking step into this shit. Let's not make this movie. And actually, that Malkovich called me on a day that I had decided not to make it. And then I was like, I have to make it. So about that long. But I shot it in June.
Of this year.
I don't really know why it worked that way, but it just came together pretty damn fast. And we did the music at Abbey Road, which we did because I love an orchestra and I love music in a movie.
Thank you. Last question has to be right here on the aisle. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, very simple question. Why the name China?
Why the name China?
It's a good question. I really don't remember. You know, the movie used to be called China. I think I just thought I was writing it, and when I made the guy's name, because he's talking to his ex-wife in the beginning, and he's going to tell her that their daughter wants to live with him. So I said, "What's your name?" And I went, "China." Fucking idiots. Just idiots.
That's it. Yeah, thank you guys for a great time.